Good afternoon. I'm 65 and I'm not depressed. I'm also a workaholic. I work very hard and I enjoy working. I'm also passionate. I'm particularly passionate about kindness. And that's why I'm involved in kindness. I also believe in values, especially face value. Lots of face. And, somebody asked me, how on earth did you land this job? I said, I don't know. I'll ask. And when I asked, they told me, it's only because you have a very kind look. So that's a good thing. It's a good fit. I want to talk to you today about happiness, but you guess it, happiness by way of kindness. Happiness by way of kindness. And I will show you how happiness and kindness feeds on each other. So let's look at what happiness is. Happiness is a state of positive well-being combined with a sense of that one's life is good and meaningful and worthwhile, which is generally expressed by a range of good feelings, positive emotions like intense joy, laughter, like these happy people dancing on the beach, or simply quiet contentment. So happiness can be expressed in so many different ways by so many different people because different things make different people happy in different ways. But what has happiness got to do with kindness, you ask? Plenty. For one thing, both these are positive emotions. For another, they are rated very highly by people as a value that they would embrace, something that they desire, happiness and kindness. Now it is said that money cannot buy happiness, but it can buy chocolate, which is a kind of same thing. Well, if truth be told, that's not exactly true because we try so hard to buy happiness with money. A great deal of money is spent on things like self-help books, seminars. In fact, some people seem to think that they can actually become happy by attending a seminar like this. Fortunately, you're not paying a bomb for this because some people spend a lot of money going to seminars to be rich. And I can tell you this, some people pay such hefty fees to go to a 7-step path to happiness that you can imagine that the organizers are laughing all the way to the bank. They are probably the happiest people. The entertainment industry is also definitely a happiness industry. At least we are temporarily relieved of our boredom. In fact, most of the luxury goods that we buy are actually promissory notes on happiness. Now I'm speaking like a lawyer now. Promissory notes on happiness. That expensive tie looks so good on that guy in the ad, and he looked so happy. That pair of shoes looked so good on that lady in the ad, and she looked so happy. I'm gonna have it because that will make me happy. They're all promising, like holidays abroad, spas, fancy dinners. And happiness goodies can be as simple as a cup of coffee, a bar of chocolate, but make it sugar-free, maybe half a chocolate, and that will make me happy. So what price happiness? It was reported in the year 2008 that the happiness industry in the USA was worth 11 billion. You know what that is? And that continues to grow in double digits. 11 billion. When I was a lawyer in Singapore in the 70s and the late 70s, the GNP of Singapore was 12 billion. That's it. Today we are 300 over trillion or whatever it is. But that's, I don't know where it's trillion. I'm not good at numbers, but something like that. But it was 12 billion in 1979. That's a lot of money. Well, happiness is elusive. Perhaps that's why we say that money can't buy happiness, because the feelings seem to be so fleeting. And we buy and consume goods to make us happy, but before we know it, we grow tired of it. Its glamour fades away, and we look for something else to make us happy. There is always something out there that's more promising. That's why I call them promissory notes. So what price happiness? According to psychologist Pinker, he postulates that humans seem designed to adapt quickly to their circumstances, putting us on a hedonistic treadmill. Americans today have more cars and more color TVs and more computers and more brand name goods, more everything than they ever had a decade ago. But Americans, according to a study, found that they are no more happier than they were then. So people seem to adjust very quickly to any gains they experience, creating the hedonistic treadmill, where apparent increments in rewards fail to produce sustained increments in personal happiness. Hello? This guy doesn't look very happy, does he? Well, have you ever felt like our friend here? Not only is happiness fleeting, it is often out of reach to many people. Psychologists like Pinker suggest that an impediment to happiness seems to be stemming from the idea of competition inherent to evolution by natural selection. In the animal world, it happens all the time. The black eagle, for example, will allow all the chicks to hatch, only to stand back and watch the bigger chick attack the smaller chicks, and sometimes ripping them to shreds, and then standing back and settling down and growing up in peace. That's competition in the animal world. And sometimes in the marketplace, it feels the same way, that we are competing against each other to death. So it is with the human species. Natural selection operates on differences, so that one person's gain is another person's loss. In other words, like the animal world, our adaptations, according to evolutionary psychologists, are designed for competition. Humans have evolved psychological mechanisms designed to inflict loss on others and to envy those who are more successful at achieving goals toward which they themselves aspire. In this regard, happiness sometimes becomes simply an agreeable sensation arising from contemplating the misery of others. People do take pleasure in the downfall of tall poppies. Look how the mighty have fallen, and they parody them with apparent great satisfaction. Happiness becomes then a zero-sum game. Someone has to lose for another one to win. As Gall Vidal noted, it is not enough to succeed. Others must fail. This win-lose, lose-win approach to happiness is problematic, to say the least. We can't win all the time. Is there any other alternative? Surely there must be another approach, a win-win approach. And I submit there is. And it is found in the positive disposition of kindness. Many studies have shown a clear link between kindness and a sense of well-being, kindness and happiness. When we are kind to others, our brains reward us by releasing a mixture of chemicals, neurotransmitters. Dopamine, which makes us feel good. Serotonin, with its calming effects. Oxytocin, which promotes social bonding. And DHEA, which slows down the aging process. In a kind disposition, this particular stress-generating hormone called cortisol is actually reduced by 23%. Reduced. Kindness can make us happy. And when we are happy, our reaction to others and our relationship to others is also a happy one. And we will do kind things to them, which in turn makes them happy. So when we receive kindness from others, our own happiness increases. And when we act kindly to others, their happiness also increases. You look at the scale. In a scale, the relationship between two things are often weighed inversely proportional to each other. But when we weigh kindness and happiness, they are simply proportional. When we have more of one, we will also have more of the other. Japanese psychologist Keiko Otake and her colleagues in their research paper entitled Happy People Become Happier Through Kindness, a Counting Kindnesses Intervention, published in the Journal of Happiness Studies, discussed the importance of kindness by producing subjective happiness. They found that simply by counting acts of kindness for 1 week, people appear to have become happier and more grateful. The results of their research suggest that happy people are more kind in the first place, and that they can become even happier and kinder and more grateful following a simple intervention of counting kindnesses given to others. They therefore conclude that kindness, like gratitude, is an important strength that influences subjective well-being. They further suggest that the reciprocal relationship may exist between kindness and happiness. In short, kindness can cause happiness. That's the good news, ladies and gentlemen. There are other researches done, as Professor Nick mentioned this morning. Kindness and happiness, in fact, happiness have become a real industry in research. And I believe that kindness is also becoming a serious industry in research. Other researchers support their conclusion. British researchers Buchanan and Bardi found that those who perform kind acts every day for 10 days experience increased level of happiness. And the conclusion, good deeds do in fact boost happiness. Harvard Business School and the school I went to, UBC, University of British Columbia, in the Journal of Happiness Studies, confirmed the British study as early as April last year. They concluded that generally people felt happier when they were asked to remember a time that they bought something for someone else. In fact, they were even happier than when they remembered buying something for themselves. My friend Dr. Tan, who is here, said that she enjoys retail therapy. And according to this study, the retail therapy is actually better if you buy for somebody else than buying for yourself. So those who felt happier remembering buying things for others were also overwhelmingly likely to double down on their altruism. In other words, they would do more kind things. A positive feedback loop between kindness and happiness. Or, as Professor Nick told me, it's what is also known as reverse causality in psychology. Frederickson of the University of Michigan and Joyner of Florida State, published in Psychological Science, found that positive emotions, through their effects on broadened thinking, predict future increases in positive emotions. Positive emotions trigger upwards spirals towards enhanced emotional well-being. In other words, kindness bubbles up happiness. If I may use the champagne analogy, kindness is the shake, happiness is the pop. Diner in collaboration with Gallup organization and Wei Ting Ng, our Singaporean professor at SIM, published the findings in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, July 2010. And the title is pretty long. Wealth and happiness across the world. Material prosperity predicts life evaluation, whereas psychological prosperity predicts positive feeling. And their take-home message is simply this, that more than money is needed for the quality of life. and the social psychological forms of prosperity correlate only moderately with economic development. They urge societies to pay careful attention to social and psychological variables and not simply to focus on enlarging the economies. SPH survey, I think it's about 3 weeks ago, the beginning of the month. The Straits Times conducted a survey, and they found that honesty was considered by Singaporeans to be the most important value, followed very closely by kindness. Kindness. I love that. It says that the kindness movement is doing something right. Well, let's be honest now. So we desire happiness and we value kindness. So according to the research findings mentioned in SPH, happiness and kindness are interlinked. Well, not SPH, but all the other research findings. And then when we have more of one, we also would have more of the other, right? So since we value kindness so highly, we should expect Singaporeans to score equally high on happiness index, right? Wrong. According to the Straits Times reported 9th of December last year, the title of the article, What Makes You Happy? Singapore, I quote, tends to do badly in global surveys on happiness, such as the Gallup World Poll on Life Satisfaction and the Happy Planet Index. We tend to do poorly. So let's be honest, since we value honesty, we do have a problem. There is a disconnect between believing in kindness and holding up kindness as a great value and actually feeling happy. When all the researchers have told us that two should be commiserating, they should be adding up, but they are not. So what's happening here? We say we value honesty and we say we value kindness, but let's be real. Valuing kindness is one thing. Practicing kindness is another. Valuing kindness is not the same thing as practicing kindness. The question that screams for an honest answer is, how kind are we really? Could it be that we score poorly on the Happy Planet Index in spite of our high regard for kindness precisely because of our low intensity in putting kindness into practice? In other words, embracing kindness as an ideal is only a good start, but it is hardly enough to produce happiness in any real sense. To produce happiness, we clearly need to translate the ideal of kindness into action. There is a correlation between our state of happiness and our state of practical kindness. Researchers are telling us to generate a state of kindness, we have to translate a creed into a conduct, a belief into a behavior. And I can tell you this, I'm gratified because as the General Secretary for the Kindness Movement, I am optimistic because if all of us say we believe in kindness, then there is that potential that's locked in there somewhere. And we need to find a key to unlock that. And we can, and we will be a kinder society. So since we are already people who believe in kindness, what is there to stop us from taking concrete steps to be kind? Kind acts do not cost us very much. The engine of kindness or the engine of happiness, when it's fueled by kindness, is inexpensive to start up and a breeze to operate. And once it gathers momentum, it becomes self-sustaining and self-driven as it feeds on each other. It is like a solar-powered car driven on a bright sunny day. The more you drive it, the more you power it. So we cannot easily will happiness, but we can will to act kindly. It is, as one of our speakers said, a decision. We can decide within ourselves to be kind. And it doesn't take a huge amount of time and resources. It can start with, as Professor Albert Liao mentioned, start with saying thank you which was our theme for the kindness movement last year. Say thanks and make someone's day. Mother Teresa once said, kind words can be short and easy to speak, but their echoes are truly endless. Small acts of kindness count. Life, in fact, consists of bundles of little things, bundles of small things. As long as we remain other-centered, considerate, and thoughtful of the feelings and needs of others, we are on the right path to kindness. It is not a competition where in order to win, someone has to lose. Rather, it is a win-win proposition because it is not happiness at the expense of someone, at the expense of others. It is happiness available to all. This is a proven reciprocal relationship between kindness and happiness. It is a no-brainer, ladies and gentlemen, no-brainer that we should therefore take full advantage of this reciprocity. It follows that anyone who wishes to pursue happiness should begin by practicing kindness. So in conclusion, the pursuit of kindness is not a zero-sum game. It need not be a lose-win, win-lose proposition. It can be win-win. Happiness is about how you relate to your own mind and heart, and how you relate to people around you and the world around you. We desire happiness and we value happiness. We value kindness. So psychological researchers have confirmed that, and they're all consistent in their findings, that in fact it's a complementary couplet. Be kind and you will be happy. Be happy and you will be kind. And once you get into this positive feedback loop, this reverse causality between kindness and happiness, you are on the win-win pathway to kindness, to happiness by way of kindness. Now we know from what we heard just now that by genetic blueprint, we are predisposed to be kind or not kind. But I, when asked to vote, voted for the second one, that we can have intentional practices because that is in our control, not genetics. My son is a geneticist. He tells me that you're born that way, that's it. But listen, whatever way we are born, we can still make a decision to be kind. We can still make a decision to overcome circumstances and be the kind of person we know we want to be in order to be a happy person. So we should vote for taking action to be kind. As the saying goes, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. So the first step of kindness is to be kind to yourself. Give yourself a pat on the back and stop beating yourself up. In fact, the saying that we all know, love your neighbor as you would love yourself, is psychologically very sound. If you don't feel good about yourself, you're not going to be good to other people, right? So smile a bit more, like I do, and you will look better. And you will also feel better. Then take the second step. Step up and do a kind act. Do a kind act. This is about loving your neighbor as you would love yourself. Do a kind act to your neighbor as you would do a kind act to yourself. Give way to someone who is filtering into your lane on the highway. You can see him signaling. Don't just jam that little space because you see him coming. That's not kind. Don't deliberately close the gap and exclude him. Let him in. Let him share the road with you. Be kind. Give way. And thirdly, be aware of your environment. Be kind to the environment. Pick up that empty Coke can on the ledge of the flower bed that somebody just left it there and bin it. Wipe the sink after you used it so that you can leave it dry for the next person using it. I am reminded of these other sayings that we are all familiar with. Even as you want others to do to you, do the same to others. You want to go into a toilet that's clean, keep the toilet clean for the next person. Why can't we do that? You'll make the toilet happy, you'll make the next person happy, you'll make us all happy. Right? I can assure you that if you practice simple steps like this, be kind to yourself, be kind to your neighbor, and be kind to your environment, You are going to be very happy. I can guarantee you that. So, ladies and gentlemen, what are you waiting for? Smile, and the world smiles with you. Thank you so much.